A few tweaks and we might be in business. Yo, what's going on, friends, and welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. How's it going, mate? I hope you're doing well. Genuinely do hope that. And welcome on back to Chelsea News. Of course, it's the daily series here on the channel where I reflect on what's been said about Chelsea, giving you my thoughts on it. But as always, more importantly, asking for yours. In today's video, we will talk a little bit about the success of Strasbourg and how Chelsea apparently are going to dive back in January and pluck some of their players that are playing well. Diego Moreira deserves a huge shout out, by the way, in my opinion. And how good is Penders? He conceded a silly penalty to Paris Saint-Germain. We will reference the red card problem. How much of a problem is it? Well, it's a huge problem when Rob Sanchez gets sent off in like the 3rd minute away at Old Trafford. Maybe not so much a bigger problem when Malo Gusto does it when you're 3-0 up at Forest about to win the game. We'll speak about it. Borussia Dortmund were willing to throw the bag at Chelsea to sign youngster Joao Acheampong. Of course, the Chelsea Academy graduate represents pure profit, which often excites these new Chelsea owners, but when they like a player, they like a player. Just like Levi Colwill, maybe they do put transfer blocks on their favourite academy graduates. And then we're going to end on the striker situation. An amazing signing, an amazing talent in Joao Pedro, not having amazing performances at the moment. Sort of needs to be talked about. We'll end on that. But in the meantime, welcome on in, welcome home. Make yourself comfortable, pour yourself a drink, and as always, I'll thank you for supporting the content. Of course, we're on over 199,000 subscribers here on Football Therapy, which is an incredible amount of people, so thank you so much. But of course, it means we're very close to the target of 200,000 subs. So if you are a returning viewer and you do like the content, but you are yet to subscribe, I'd warmly welcome you. I'd waft you in the direction of the subscribe button. Why not just be that guy / gal, almost certainly guy, let's be fair. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Let's get into it and start off with the Strasbourg tings. First of all, there's an exclusive on TBR. Chelsea send officials to watch 2 more Strasbourg players lighting up Ligue 1. Chelsea scouts will of course be keeping an eye on certain players on loan. You know, Mamadou Sarr, Mike Penders, of course, Doucouré apparently lined up for a move in 2026, as well as Emmanuel Omega, who didn't feature in the PSG game, but of course Julio and Ciso, which will almost certainly be very easy to forget about very soon. But the striker Joaquin Panicelli looking very, very good indeed. And Nguela Doué, who's of course a right back who played against his brother Désiré Doué. Caught offside also follow up on this story with their own apparent exclusive. Doué has become one of the most talked about names ahead of the upcoming winter transfer window, and his performances in Ligue 1 continue to turn heads across Europe. Right, he's Désiré Doué's brother, older brother because he's 23, and of course Désiré is very young indeed. He's a right back. He played against his brother against Paris Saint-Germain away in Ligue 1. I watched the game, or at least most of the game. Very, very exciting. I mean, firstly, let's just quickly talk about the right back. Doué, what do you think about Chelsea signing another right back? Well, if we are going to play in such a way now where the likes of Wesley Fofana and Joao Acheampong aren't going to play that right back role, and I must say, I kind of agree with that sort of plan. I don't really want to see them do that. Reece James can do it, Malo Gusto can do it, but if Malo is, with time, becoming less and less trusted, maybe Chelsea, the sporting directors, Enzo Maresca, turn to the January transfer window and have a shock transfer to buy another right back. Now, of course, at left back, Cucurella is undisputed, Uriel Hato's meant to be the understudy, and we've even seen other players go there, like Reece James at times, Malo Gusto. Now, Malo Gusto has had a couple of red cards for Chelsea. We'll speak about the red cards in just a moment. We know that Maresca likes Gusto. He likes certain elements of his profile, and that's why he tries to play him in different roles as a conventional right back, as a sort of inside CDM, indeed an attacking midfielder, like a number 10. I don't like much of it. I mean, Maresca knows more about football than me, and to his credit, Maresca, although he's made loads of baffling decisions historically, he's also done some really good tactical innovations and done some really good managerial performances. I mean, the Forest game was a great example, even though he wasn't on the touchline. Both the halftime changes and the magical note that got passed around saw Chelsea, destroy Forest in the end. So we could be signing a new right back in January. How would you feel about that? I do have a great deal of sympathy for Malo Gusto, because when he was 19 years old and we signed him for Mauricio Pochettino's Chelsea, he looked different gravy granules. Up and down, yes, he's still to score, and maybe if he stayed as a conventional right back and his confidence stayed high, maybe he would have got a goal by now. His job's not to score goals, but if you look at Reece James and, of course, Cucurella, they love a goal. It's probably good you get the odd goal, mate, because you will be in goal-scoring opportunities. But anyway, I digress slightly. He had high confidence under Pochettino, and he was playing as a flying fullback, and he got a bunch of assists. And there was a time on social media, Chelsea fans were saying, well, we've got the best right back and the second best right back in the league. Of course, all that talk died down, and the whole Malo Gusto hype dwindled a little bit. I don't particularly want to sell Malo Gusto. He's still really young. I think he is a great player. Chelsea will undoubtedly make a big profit on him should they sell him. Like all the other players they've recently sold, they're seemingly making profit all over the gaff with your Maduekes, your Renato Vegas, etc. So should we sell Gusto, especially now he's a full France international. And to get into that France team, you got to be really ruddy good. I don't want to sell him, but it's interesting to see heavy links. Strasbourg won't be happy that a player's playing well and they're being linked to Chelsea. But let's move on quickly and speak a little bit about Strasbourg. Now, of course, it's a bit of an existential dilemma. If you are a Strasbourg fan, you're doing very, very well. You're really putting up great performances away in the Parc des Princes against PSG. Of course, the behemoth superpower in French football. Probably should have won the game. Mike Penders, gives away the penalty. It was a stonewall penalty, which of course gives them the opportunity to score, and it ends up finishing 3-3. Had Mike Penders not conceded the penalty, Strasbourg go away to PSG and they win 3-2. Of course, they've already beaten PSG last year under Liam Rosenior at home. To be fair, at that point, PSG had lost their invincible record and they were going for the Champions League. So they kind of took their foot off the gas. But still, a win's a win. And Strasbourg deserve a huge deal of credit. Liam Rosenier's been excellent out there. Hope he stays and, Blue Co can hold on to him for a while because he's an excellent coach. And Strasbourg will benefit of him staying there. But they're doing really, really well. So despite good performers consistently being linked to Chelsea, I think a lot of the fans are enjoying the general success. Going away to PSG and getting a point, nearly winning, beating them last season, getting into Europe. I think a lot of them have sort of made peace with a lot of the shining stars going to Chelsea. That's the payoff, the sort of deal with the devil, if you will. But they are playing incredibly well. Of course, we know Omega's already going to Chelsea next summer. I forgot it a few videos ago when I was talking about striker. Many of you corrected me in the comments, or reminded me, should I say, correctly from you guys. So he's coming to Chelsea, and now we're looking at their right back, who's performing well. It's pretty tough, but we send players to go there on loan developmentally to come back, but we also sell them wicked players, and I think an excellent example of that is Diego Moreira, the young Portuguese/Belgium international, who is an incredible vibes player. He's an incredible athlete. He's a great character. He learnt French fluently very quickly. He's now a Belgian international. He was Portuguese youth international. He didn't have the greatest start at Chelsea and he got shipped off to Strasbourg in terms of when we were still planning our squad. But he's played left back, left wing back. He's currently playing as a left-sided forward. Amazing technical ability, a great finishing. He looks really, really good. And fortunately for Strasbourg fans, he's not playing in a position where we think, oh yeah, we need to take Diego Moreira from them. He can be a sort of talisman of their team and continue playing really, really well. And he deserves everything. He works hard. He seems like a really good guy. And it's just a nice story in what is a complicated situation in the multi-club model. Do you know what I mean? Right then, let's move on. Let's talk about the red card situation. Now, Reece James seems to think it's not a problem. The Chelsea captain, of course, is going to say something like that. A young captain of a incredibly young team who keep getting dismissals. What's that, 5 this season? Maybe 6 with the manager? I've lost count. Maybe it's 5 with the manager, or it could be 6 with the manager. There's loads of red cards all over the gaff, but there's loads of bookings as well. We've had a disciplinary issue ever since the Mauricio Pochettino days, and to be honest, the thing that remains the same is it's a very young side. It's not a coincidence, it's a young side. There's a lot of like rush of blood, you get a lot of cards. Is it an issue? Well, of course, this was the same thing being put to Arsenal a few years ago under Mikel Arteta, and you know, they kept getting red cards. I don't think they quite had the excuse of the immense youth that Chelsea have, but they were quite hot-headed. What do I think? I think it's a problem if certain players keep doing it. And what I mean by that, of course, there is the example of Nicholas Jackson, because it wasn't accumulation, it was straight red cards. You can't be putting in challenges to get straight red cards in quick succession, like within a few games. That was genuinely a problem, especially from forwards as well. I mean, sometimes when you're like the last defender and you get stitched up or something like that, but when your striker keeps putting in straight red card challenges, yeah, that's a problem. I think also, I think Rob Sanchez won't do that again, get that red card again. It's hugely damaging. We should have won at Old Trafford and we lost. I do personally put that down to Robert Sanchez. But I don't think he's going to do it again anytime soon. Oh my God, touch wood. And other than that, I kind of want to agree with the Chelsea captain, Reece James, because it's sort of being spread out to different players, which would mean it's kind of... It kind of is a coincidence. It's like you got a young team, everyone's sort of high pressing and they're passionate and emotions are up. It's not like these two geezers keep getting sent off and that's a huge problem. You know, Malo Gusto, who I think doesn't start... I know he started high profile games for Chelsea, including the Club World Cup final, but for me personally, he's not in Chelsea's best 11. He got 2 yellow cards, which means he'll miss 1 Premier League game and that will be against Sunderland. Chelsea can survive the Sunderland Premier League game without Malo Gusto. You look at it from that way, it's not a problem. Now, it will be a problem financially because Chelsea will almost certainly get fined by the FA for disciplinary problems, for, you know, constantly getting bookings, and that does become a problem financially. I don't know how fines work with your like accounting, profit and sustainability rules. I kind of imagine they don't count, but it does need to sort out. I wanted to mention it quickly because I don't think necessarily it's a huge problem, and I think we'll sort of just grow out of it. So yeah, there's my 2 cents on that. Let me know your thoughts on the discipline problem down below, and let's move on and speak about Josh Acheampong. So this is really interesting. I'm reading off the ChelseaChronicle.com. They cited the fact how Fabrizio Romano was speaking about it, saying that Borussia Dortmund were prepared to accept any formula to get Josh Acheampong, a loan with an option, a permanent transfer, anything. Dortmund were desperate for Acheampong, but from Chelsea, it was a no. Now, this is hugely important because Josh hasn't played loads for Chelsea. Remember when we were trying to lock down Levi Colwill on a new contract? He had a really good loan spell at Brighton. Jurgen Klopp was willing to throw the bag at Levi Colwill to sign him to be this long-term Virgil van Dijk replacement. Of course, Levi then put pen to paper, committed his long-term career to Chelsea Football Club. Liverpool had to move on, and now, of course, they're targeting the likes of Mark Guehi to be that guy. But Chelsea saw in Levi Colwill, no, you don't touch this guy. Even though he's only like a very young player that's been on loan at Brighton, we know what we've got here. And it feels like they're doing a similar thing with Josh Acheampong. Now, a lot of cynical people might, you could be forgiven for saying, well, they're obsessed with pure profit, they don't have a front of shirt sponsor, they're desperate for money in their accounts. Josh is another academy player, he's like an Ian Martson, he's like a Lewis Hall, he can make a lot of money. And the fact that Borussia Dortmund was so desperate for Josh Acheampong, it would have potentially really tested the resolve of the sporting directors and indeed the accountants at Chelsea. But I do feel really comforted by the fact that they were like, no, absolutely not. Now we know, of course, Enzo Maresca is, quote, in love with Josh. A little bit lost in the translation there from the Italian. I think he'd probably just want to say, I love Josh, I have love for Josh. But no, in love. But I don't think he has a romantic interest in him. You know what I mean? I'm only being a bit silly there. Point being, the gaffer loves him, the sporting hierarchy really love him, and he's trusted at Chelsea. And to be honest, it was him and Tyreek George, they call them the twins in the dressing room, that were both promoted into the first team. Tyreek George is trusted by Chelsea. We've seen him play on both wings. We've seen him start up top in high-profile games as a striker. More on that in the final story of today. In today's video, but it always felt like Josh was the one that wasn't going anywhere. Before we knew that Tyreek George maybe wanted to go on a permanent and Chelsea were willing to sell him on a permanent, If you ask a lot of Chelsea fans and people around football, they'd be like, well, yeah, Josh is the most likely to stay and be part of the first team because he's played that right-back role where I don't want to see him. He's even played in like left inverting midfield, like quite a niche and tactically disciplined role from Maresca. And of course, we've seen him play very, very well at centre-back, at Liverpool and indeed other games as well. So he's not going anywhere. And a lot of Chelsea fans now will be like, at the moment, he should be starting for Chelsea. Of course, he's very young. We need to be very careful with him. But yeah, I do take comfort from the fact how he sort of snuck into this untouchable list that we keep talking about and that keeps getting spoken about in the media. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Josh Acheampong, of course, scored his first goal for Chelsea. Really wicked moment for him. Let me know your thoughts on him. Let's move on and speak strikers. So of course, Omega is arriving in the summer. So of course, Liam Delap will return to the Chelsea side and probably starting 11 within a matter of weeks / months, probably early December at this point now. But before the turn of the new year, we understand. He needs to be ready though, of course, in terms of match fitness or certainly physical fitness. In the meantime, it is of course looking like we need to play someone up there who's not called Joao Pedro. This has been my opinion for weeks, and it's not because I don't want to have Joao Pedro on the pitch. No, he's really amazing. He's an amazing attacker, and it looks like he can have a good chemistry and, have good link-up play with the other Chelsea attackers. And in the absence of Cole Palmer, and by the way, there is an absence, Cole Palmer's not there at the moment, I would start Joao Pedro in that role. I wouldn't start Santos. I wouldn't really even start Enzo Fernandez. I would start Joao Pedro in a withdrawn role, dropping deep, linking up play, and having someone up top who can cause chaos. And yes, Mark Guew might have got a 5.9 rating on SofaScore for his performance in Nottingham Forest, but as matches of the day appropriately highlighted, just having him there, just making sure the centre-backs are occupied, turning them, making the runs, being big and strong, barging into people, committing fouls, it's just completely different. Because it's basically a focal point, a focus point, even if he's not doing really delicate, graceful, cultured moves, he's basically this first line of defence, this slash attack, he's this big boulder up front, which means Joao Pedro has space to breathe, to look, and most notably to pop off shots, because when he plays as a lone striker lately in the Premier League, he's not popping off shots at all, and he's a good finisher, by the way. We need to get him in in states of play where he feels confident to take shots, and at the moment that's not as a centre forward. And even if you say Mark Guew, in the future he might be great, but at the moment he's quite a basic striker, and maybe he should be playing for a top of the championship team or top third championship. And that's not that's not me slagging him off. He's so young, he might be very, very good. He just needs minutes. But even that at the moment makes all the amazing attackers behind him, of which Joao Pedro, Pedro Neto, Estevao, even your Garnachos and Gittins, they will all benefit from having a Mark Guew up top. And to be honest, in the absence of that, I still wouldn't play Joao Pedro there, and I wouldn't play Tyreek George there. Genuinely, I know it's different from what I'm talking about, a striker occupying defenders, but in that case, I'd go for a false 9, not a Joao Pedro false 9. I'd put Pedro Neto up there, and of course you lose a lot because Pedro Neto's been so good on the flanks, but because he's just intelligent with his movement, maybe a bit more confident, then you just bring in Estevao from the start. Estevao on the right, Pedro Neto up top, pick between Garnacho and Gittins on the left with Joao Pedro in the 10. That's what I'd do, and I think that's a really important thing for the manager to consider at the moment. But guys, let me know your thoughts. Please do leave them down in the comment section below. I've been really enjoyed talking to you guys today about Chelsea and what's been said in the news. So if you've enjoyed it, please do drop a like on this video. And of course, if you're yet to subscribe, I welcome you to do so and hit the bell if you choose to. Other than that, I hope to see you back here very soon. Take care of yourselves. Peace.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me baby.